Hello and welcome to another video in the Blade series. Today, Scott and I are going to discuss one of everyone's favorite topics, cybersecurity training. I know the last thing you want to hear is a justification on why my company constantly sends fake phishing emails to try and fool me into clicking on something. But hear us out on this one. After this discussion, you'll look at cybersecurity training in a whole new light. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. Scott, why is cybersecurity training important to businesses today?
Right. Well, what business isn't connected to the internet in some way, somehow? Right. Everybody is. It's part of our lives. It's part of our commerce. It's part of everything we do. It involves some sort of internet transfer. So, it's important to understand, with cybersecurity training, you have to have, because attackers are now using advanced tactics. They're using AI-generated emails, for example. So before, they could send a few email out in 10 minutes. Now they can send a few billion emails out in a tenth of a second. Right. It's the same idea. Just AI-generated emails that can learn on the ones that actually get marked as spam and go back and change itself and resend itself. All that kind of fun stuff. Same thing with texts and voice messages. The voice messages, AI-generated voice messages are getting really good. Mm-hmm. Almost impossible to determine if maybe doesn't sound like the person that it says it is. But it certainly sounds like a person, a lot more than in the past. So, all these things, these types of attack vectors are really, legitimate, and they're constantly changing their approach on how to attack the employees and the end users. So employees can either be your strongest defense or they can be your biggest vulnerability. And that's what we always say in cybersecurity. You want to turn your biggest vulnerability into your best defense. And that's really the core reason why we do cybersecurity training. We're trying to turn you into part of our protection network. We're trying to train you so you can identify these risks before we will, before the systems will, and so on and so forth. Because in many ways, the end user is the front line on all this. And that's why what we try to do is to give you appropriate tools and the lay of the land and so on and so forth, so you're more effective doing your not so much required job of being a human firewall, but it makes you better at it, and you can catch problems, and if you save problems on the network, you save problems for everybody.
Yep, 100%. So as we're trying to train these people and things like that, how has the proliferation of remote work increased the cybersecurity risks for people? Right.
Well, remote work really took off during the COVID epidemic, of course, and we had that going on. So people were trying to work that never worked anywhere but their office. Were trying to work at home and coffee shops and all these other things. And what happens is you increase the surface area of that person, because instead of us as cybersecurity professionals trying to just protect that one computer that's locked in a room that never leaves that desk, now we got to protect against machines that are going to McDonald's or Starbucks, connected to this network, connected to that network, so on and so forth. So there's more risk there. For example, I got this little guy here. This is one of the tools we use to do like surveying and stuff. It's nothing to it, tiny, about as big as a pack of cigarettes, if you remember what those are. And these are called Wi-Fi pineapples. And what we can do with these in environments such as major coffee shops, let's say, and they have open Wi-Fi on their networks, we can set in a cafe and capture information coming off of every machine, because we basically do a man-in-the-middle attack with this guy. We have this guy sitting in between you and the router. So you have to pass through this guy, put in your credentials. I have those now. Then we go and let you go on out to the internet. But we're in the middle. We're watching all your traffic going in and out. Now, we can't get encrypted traffic like comes through the HTTPS, but something important to note is a lot of the bad guys now, it used to be for the longest time, they'd catch that data, we can't crack it, the encryption's too tough, and they just threw it away. Not the case anymore. They're hanging on to it, because there's a lot of things coming down the pipe, such as quantum computing, that is really going to cause us in cybersecurity that have to deal with encryption algorithms. Is going to change our world completely really soon, and we're all getting ready for that. And perhaps, just maybe, these bad guys can take the information they grabbed off you when you're at the burger shop down the street using your Wi-Fi, and they can have that on a disk somewhere, and then suddenly 5-6 years from now, they can hack that open, and then does your bank account numbers change that often? No. All these different information, all that information is still going to be there 5 years from now.
It's all going to be real.
And that's why you have to watch out, always use HTTPS, so on and so forth. But even if people use, even if you are using the most secure algorithms out there to transfer data, there's still a possibility somebody's grabbing that data. They can't read it today, but they might be able to tomorrow, so they hang on to it.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the next question is, what exactly is cybersecurity training? We keep saying it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, really, what it boils down to, we want to give the end user employees, tools, so they understand how to identify and prevent cyber attacks. Right. So that's one of the reasons, like you mentioned the spoofing emails we send to train everybody. One got me about 2 months ago. Just about, I was hovering over hitting a button, and I said, "What is? I just feel funny about doing this." And I looked it closer, and come to find out the domain was off by one letter, and
they got you with a Z instead of an S.
Something like that, and those sort of things. So we want to teach the end users how to identify bad emails that maybe the systems aren't blocking. Any other type of cyber attacks, like if somebody's calling you up out of the blue and saying that they're somebody you don't think they are, or they're saying something like they have some money to give you, but they need to get the information for your bank account. All kinds of, you wouldn't believe what people fall for. Yeah. Number one, professional individuals who went to university and should have a little more sense than that sometimes. They fall for these things. Somebody calls them up and says, "I have money for you. What's your account number?" Stuff like that. It's just crazy. So this is what you, as end user employees, you are the front line. You're what stops all these attacks from really, going and causing havoc throughout the entire network. So, through this training, then you not only know how to identify things, how to respond appropriately, how to identify suspicious activity in an interactive manner, where maybe you're interacting with the bad guy and gathering some information and stuff. Now it depends on what your company's policies are. I know here, since we're all pretty much consultants, we encourage people to engage with that bad guy when we know he's a bad guy, just to farm a little more information about who this guy is, what's his tactics, so on and so forth. So that might be something that's not germane for your particular job position, but it's something that we do because you can't beat a human trying to hack a human. That's when it's really when it comes down to the brass tacks, and we like to find out what these bad guys are doing so we can be one step ahead of them, hopefully.
Yeah, pretty much. So I guess what makes cybersecurity training effective? Right.
Well, the key thing is it's not because you get to sit here and listen to me yap for 20 minutes. That's not the point. But like anything else in life, if you're going to become really good at it, you have to have repetitive training. Right. Where they say, 20 times to become an expert, or 20 hours of study to become an expert.
20 hours.
Yeah, that sort of thing. These different, which there's no science behind, but still, you get the idea as far, we want you to build these habits, and we want to reinforce the habits. I know we have companies, and I've worked with companies before, that reward people for finding bad stuff on company, phishing emails that evaded the system, or spoofing emails that did something else, and those sort of things. And that's another reason they just want to be able to build those daily habits, because we don't want it just to be a monthly chore. You watch the 10-minute video, you answer the silly, easy questions at the end, and you move on. Try to take a little bit more from that, and think of yourself as the human firewall. And that's what you want to, we're trying to train you to become. And it may seem silly that the people really, are on the lowest rung of management have this responsibility, but really you guys are the ones that are on the front line. The people in the Crystal Palace and up there, they don't, really, a lot of people don't even deal that much with their own email in that environment. So that's why we need you guys to become a really good, effective human firewall, and help yourself, help us, help everybody.
Yeah, exactly. That it's one of those things I would prefer to transfer or transform I'm getting cybersecurity training into, new cybersecurity training. So to keep us from being completely inundated, how often should cybersecurity training be provided?
Well, it's like most things we say, as needed, right? Yeah. So, but really at a minimum, I think you need to have a higher level, like a in-service training, lunch and learn, whatever you want to call that, at least once a year. And you don't really want to, it's not just for end user employees and stuff. I mean, everybody needs to attend the cybersecurity training, from the CEO down. Everybody needs to know this information. So that's something we do. And then you do, let's say you have one big session once a year, and I do some with some law firms, for example. Towards the end of the year, December is a training month for me mostly. But for example, with law firms, what they like to do is they like to split their staff from their attorneys. And so we have one session with the staff, which really makes a lot of these important things we're talking about today. That's really the topics. And then we have a second session with the attorneys, which you basically look as the management team. And then you talk about a totally separate set of threats to them, probably a little bit more in depth on the type of threat, what they need to do as an organization, so on and so forth. So you can really dial in the content to your group in that fashion.
Customized to your audience.
Yeah, exactly. And that's if it's customized some, they're probably going to pay a little bit more attention, and those sort of things. But there's nothing like trying to make your training exciting and interactive. And I'm known to throw things at people while in class, erasers and such, not like baseballs or anything, but these sort of things, just to keep things interested, exciting. I've got a little horn that I'll blow if people start falling asleep. I mean, anything you could think of, just to get people engaged for that 90 more seconds until their attention span falls off again.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. The one that I remember was the group of main partners sitting in the front row, and you walking out from behind, because they were all on their phones, and you walking out from behind the desk and standing right in front of them going, "You hear me?"
Yeah, that went over well. But it was, the staff enjoyed it, just because, I thought it was a good thing to show the staff especially. It's like, everybody needs to do this. It's responsible for everybody. You don't get to skip this.
Yeah.
Everybody
this
is on
is
the
not
payroll.
optional. So.
Right. I would like to see it, frankly. I would like to see not only just be people on the payroll, but all their significant others, too. Bring them on in, and we'll train them all. That's no problem. Because that's a big part of it, too. Because at home, you have to take these same habits that we're training you on, and take those home with you too. Yeah. Wherever you have a computer, whenever you touch a computer, whenever you touch a smartphone, these are the habits we want you to think of to protect yourself, protect your company, and protect everyone else.
Yep. So the next question, I'm getting AI exhaustion here. How is AI influencing modern cybersecurity attacks?
Well, it's heavily influencing it. Just like we're seeing it try to get inroads into just about every area of computer science and computing today. But it's definitely AI's out there helping the bad guys do some pretty cool stuff, like creating highly convincing, deep fake videos. And you can use one of those. We've seen them in the wild where, a CEO of a company shows up in this video and says certain things. Yep. And it's not him. These sort of things. So they can use those that way. We've had it where people have had a deep fake audio call from proposing to be from the bank, and they knew the banker's name, and they had all that information. And they're able to construct that attack. And get some stuff to do. So really, AI allows you to create these error-free, convincing messages that mimic executives, vendors, coworkers, law enforcement, your doctor. Who knows? And these are kind of hard to spot, especially if they're framed correctly, the right time of day. Because obviously, as we're going to talk here in a sec, you always want to generate that sense of urgency. Yeah. It's important. You got to do it now. Got to do it now. And that's when the social engineers, the guys who are running the AIs that do the hacks, they want that. They want that expediency. Because why? Well, think about it for a minute. You're probably not going to click the link. So they want you to do it right now. It's an emergency. And they'll have the voice that sounds just like the CEO on the phone.
It's done now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's all the kind of stuff. And just coincidentally, the CEO happens to be on an airplane right now who's untouchable. Or so you can't call him.
Can't get a hold of him.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And this is all what the social engineers, the bad guys that do these sort of attacks. This is all planned. They don't go after things randomly. They've got a step-by-step plan of how they're going to attack you. That means you guys need to have a step-by-step plan on how to stop them.
Yep, 100%. So I guess what are some signs of AI-driven or advanced phishing attempts?
That's one I just mentioned, was unusual urgency. Like, this has to be done now. You could go to the bank right now and buy 50 Apple gift cards. We had that happen a while back with somebody who did it, but anyway, that's a whole other story.
Great Christmas gift.
Apparently. With the bad guys, because they get Apple gift cards, they use them like currency then,
right.
Untrackable currency, and these sort of things. But yeah, if you're getting those type of requests, and it's always going to be urgent, and they actually sent her back to get more, I believe, right?
Yeah, she sent the first round, and they were like, oh, we told you the wrong number. Can you go back? And she started to do it.
Yeah, then she had enough, she had enough time to think.
Yeah.
That's why the urgency got her on the first time, but when they came back to double dip, they didn't have that urgency anymore, and then she started going, whoa, what's going on here?
Wait a minute.
those sort of things. Hate to laugh about it. We all make mistakes, but that one was pretty funny, you got to say. And urgency, changes to financial details. Something where like, okay, suddenly your bank balance goes to zero for some reason. Well, it may not be the bank. It may be the bad guys phishing you to think your bank balance is zero. So you'll call the little phone number at the bottom that looks kind of like your bank's number and talk to them.
Yeah.
These sort of things. Any of these sort of things, and any request to bypass a normal authorization channel, like for the way we do things when we have to buy something over a certain amount, we have two partners signing off on it. Okay, that makes total sense. So the bad guys will try to bypass those because they know they're controls that are made to stop them.
Yeah.
So that's a good tip off too. If somebody are asking you to kind of like go off the normal approval process, even if it sounds like somebody you work with every day, don't trust it. You just can't. You just can't.
So I guess we've seen how the AI is helping. So how does cybersecurity training reduce financial risk and data breach?
Sure. Well, if you really look at it, any sort of cybersecurity breach is a financial issue.
That's a good point.
It's going to cost money to recover, to patch what went wrong, for training, new software maybe, new consultants maybe, those sort of things. So really, phishing attempts and any of these sort of things, it really boils down. It's a financial attack. I've had it before where I've worked with a company, for example, that had a phishing attack and wasn't super sophisticated, but it was sophisticated enough, and where they basically received some invoices via email from a known vendor that had a few little changes on their banking routing information that no one noticed. Okay, so that was a cybersecurity breach. So, they got that information, but it was really significantly, financial because hundreds of thousands of dollars went from this company to that company, right, without anyone knowing. And then when we did the investigation and we found out, and everybody knew it was bad and not good.
Everybody starts going, oh.
But we had the older gentleman who was the CEO of the company. He was taking notes. I think he was getting it, and so on and so forth. And at the end, he said, well, this is all great, Scott. When should we expect to get that money back?
Yeah, like it was FDIC insured or something.
And it's like, you're never going to see another penny of that. I'm
That's
sorry.
gone.
Yeah, it's gone. Bye-bye. And he was pretty upset about it. And I would be too if I didn't understand. He was old, like I said, older gent, wasn't a technologist. He was an engineer. So he was smart, but he just didn't understand how this game plays. And that's what happened in that case. So you don't want to be in that position where you're the one that has to go in and talk to the board or the boss or whoever and say, oops, just lost $100,000.
My bad.
Sorry. So that will probably not have a great outcome for you if that's the case.
We call those pink slip generating events.
Exactly. Exactly. And the unfortunate thing is we see it happen just by stupid attacks that should have never worked, and they work.
Yeah.
Because it's just like the thing, if you throw enough baseballs, you're going to hit something, right? That's their approach, especially with AI now, John. Because now instead of just throwing 1 million emails on the wall, now you can throw 1 billion emails on the wall,
and they're more customized,
and you don't have to do anything as the end user as the bad guy end user. Just once you get it set up, you go, okay, give me a huge list of email addresses, bam, and that's it. And that's it. And they go. And the AI sits there and they customize them as need to for the different domains and done.
Yeah. The hackers have learned how to use AI. So.
Yeah. That should be a good thing for all of us to think of. If the bad guys are using it, it's usually going to be something good for all of us. If you look through the years about what all the bad guys have done through the years, it end up becoming kind of rolled into our normal systems. So, that's just something we have to look out for now and make sure that these attacks don't become a huge, banking problem or a pink slip generating event.
So, all right. So we've talked a little bit about the financial side of things. Why is cybersecurity important for customer trust?
Well, that's important because depending on your situation and what industry you're in and what kind of breach you suffer, you may have a reportable breach. Which means, okay, you have to send a letter to anyone who's ever done work with you ever saying we had a breach and explain what happened, and it's not pleasant.
To which they go,
Exactly. They do go, And that's what the customers, they get this letter. It's from the bank. It looks really important. Comes up, a little piece of thick stationery with a lawyer's name on it and everything, and it's got, here's all that went wrong. And you don't want, let's say you're a bank,
Yeah.
you don't want that kind of publicity because obviously you're not supposed to really run around and tell people this. I guess I don't really know what the privacy laws on that are, but it's going to get out.
Yeah.
It's going to be on in the paper. It's going to be
somebody will leak it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a big thing about those types of breaches because you're going to lose something really in a way that's more valuable than money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your reputation.
Yep.
And I know in our industry, reputation is really what we got. I mean, that's it. If something like this would happen to us, it would be definitely a pink slip generating event.
Yeah.
But it would be something that would be actually probably much worse.
Yeah, because we're selling ourselves, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what we sell. We sell ourselves. We sell our knowledge, and you can only think of a company that had the public trust, like a bank or anything like that. I mean, they're going to take a hit to their reputation, and this may be unrecoverable.
Yep.
That's why we see a lot of times that these do not get reported as they probably should for some reason. Hard to sell it. Sometimes there's a friend in the media.
Yeah.
That spikes the story, right? And
releases it on the beginning of a larger story,
exactly.
so that it's there, but no one ever actually sees it.
So then they do that on trash day on Friday afternoons a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They'll take those stories and run them in, right? And they just nobody pays attention to them. That can happen. It's probably illegal, somewhat unethical, I believe, but we can't do much about that today.
Yeah. So not our thing. So. All right, so what topics should a successful cybersecurity awareness program include?
Sure. Well, there's a lot of stuff, but just to be brief, one thing we always stress, and we're talking more today, the end users here and the employee types, is that the necessity to have a password manager. Nowadays, every site you go to should have a unique password. I know it sounds horrible. So you probably have 1,000 unique passwords you have to take care of, and you're not going to be able to do it without a password manager. And there's several of them out there. They range from being free to costing like $50 a year or something like that. Take a look at them. I use one called LastPass. There's several other out there, but if you're not using a password manager today, you need to. It's just the only way you're going to be sure, because a lot of these types of programs will not only help you handling your passwords, but it helps you making sure that you don't accidentally put one password into another site because it matches that up. So you can say, okay, this is a Microsoft password. Why are you trying to put a NetWare password in there?
I never thought about that because it knows the URL it's supposed to go to, and it goes, hey.
And it also resolves the URL. So you can't, DNS poisoning can't stop it either because they use their own DNS.
I never thought about that. That's a good one, Scott.
Yeah. That's a good thing too. So password managers. That's one thing. We always do some training on spotting phishing attempts. How to hover your mouse over the sender's name to see the true URL that's hidden underneath it. You can do that with any version of Outlook, for example, and help people understand. It's like, even though it says it came from JohnAllenBladeTechInc.com, it really came from some other guy in .my or something, right? And those sort of things. We talk about that. How to be safe with email, how to be safe with social media. A lot of that is don't give up too much of your personal information, especially in social media. I can't believe that many people already are. Even today, put in some of their social media saying, yeah, me and the wife are going to be out of town in Europe for 3 weeks.
Yeah, and the crooks are going, woohoo!
I know. It just doesn't, people aren't thinking.
Yeah.
Taking a moment and thinking about the security aspects of it.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that even in your Outlook away message. Just to be ambiguous and don't put dates. So.
Yeah, that's, in fact, I've kind of adopted, I was always a stickler about always having a out of the office one set up. I don't do it anymore. I just don't have one. I set up the out of office in our teams, so you guys
internal
know.
only.
Yeah, so you guys know. And anyone else? How often do I actually take a true day off?
Right.
You're always checking your email. You're always doing something. So yeah, I've just quit doing out of office even as that. Maybe that's something you guys need to think about too. That's just one more little breadcrumb you're giving the bad guys, and so you just want to watch out for that. So that's a good one. Other things, we talk about that. How data security best practices, pretty straightforward. Your company should have some sort of policy in place on, what data goes where, who can do what with it. Maybe you're even to the point where you're categorizing your data now, and you can really start doing some true data management of that. And that's awesome if you get to that point. And then we also do realistic simulations like phishing tests, and we also probably most notably tabletop exercises. Now, tabletop exercises are generally not for the general staff public, right? And really not for all the management either. It's everybody who touches the IT.
It's a very key group of people.
Right. And that's where we basically, there's all kinds of different tabletop exercises we can do, and we prepare them. Sometimes you use playing cards and dice and pieces and stuff. You're basically, though, we're walking them through the worst day of their life. Yeah. All your systems are compromised. Everything's deleted. The place is on fire. If you get the
call at 3 o'clock in the morning, what do you do?
Yeah, that's what. And so we actually do role playing, and we act it like a role playing game. And sometimes, with the smaller companies, maybe these will take 2 or 3 hours. Bigger companies, it may take all day. Yeah. Just depends on what you're doing and how deep you want to get into this. And I have never run one of these sessions where I haven't heard how much they learned. Even the people who are in the ditches with all the IT stuff, even they come back and say they learned something new, and it's good because we don't get exposed to this every day. A horrible tragedy occurs on our network. I mean, even us, even though we see that a lot, still we don't see it that much. Right. I mean, it's not the way it used to be in the late '90s, where networks were catching on fire left and right all the time. So it's a little bit different now. So, that's why we do the tabletop exercises. Give people, just a little bit of experience for dealing with it when, it hits the fan.
Yeah. See, and you thought all that training as the dungeon master in D&D wouldn't come in handy. And now we get to sit in front of a room full of people and go, the Demogorgon came through the door and stole your data.
Yeah, we actually did one with a bank, and I did throw a few D&D references. Don't open that vault.
Yeah, that door's not the right answer. So, all right. So what this really means is that we, the users, are the first and best line of defense in a war with the bad guys. That should make us all take a step back and view this sometimes annoying part of our training as one of the most important things we can do to protect ourselves and our companies. Yeah. Scott, as always, thank you so much for your insight and expertise.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Thanks to all of you for watching. If you all find this video informative, enjoy the content, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment below. We always love to hear your thoughts on this subject. This is John and Scott from Blade. Take it easy.